Hello. Okay, so I'm back at it again. Today's video is going to be about is going to be about a number of thoughts I had today and some things that I'd sort of gone into a little more depth looking at. I'm just going to be reading through my notes. It is sort of a little bit later in the evening, and I sort of don't want to try and spend too much time going over trying to set this video up. So I'm just going to sort of go from what I had structured in how I wanted to kind of talk about the things that I will be talking about in this video during my lunch break today. I'll just get right into it. So a thought that I had a few weeks ago while I was taking this sort of hiatus from making videos was I realized that when I'm usually around people that are not the kind of people that I have grown up with, especially the family that I sort of grew up in a house with, I don't know, well, I sort of realized that I don't really feel myself. I feel uncomfortable with who I am and how I act with those people in whatever setting that I am in with them. I feel like I need to be somebody I am not, especially I need to feel like I need to be somebody I am not, especially when that takes a lot more work to attempt to be. I then also stress about how to think about what to say that makes me seem better to others. I find that I actually, for some reason, I actually think I realize why now that I say that out loud, but I sort of find that I don't feel comfortable when I am speaking to people. And that's something that I've sort of made a note of a few weeks ago. And that's sort of something I wanted to spend today really thinking about. What I mean is that sort of when I am talking to people and I am trying to have a conversation, or I'm just talking about something sort of personal, it feels really awkward. It feels like I am sort of almost resisting fighting against myself for some reason. It's almost as though I am somewhat attempting to try to sort of think straight while I'm running backwards. I need to be who I am. That will be what people, regardless of their feelings towards me, when I act in that way, will see of me. The thing that I need to realize is I am me, no matter what influences me, no matter what influences who I am or who I become. I can't escape myself, no matter how far and fast I move, or how far and fast I moved from the point at rest that I was in the past. The thing that I sort of need to acknowledge is that no matter sort of where I am, no matter what I do, no matter how I act, no matter what influence I have in my life that influences my actions or reactions, it's always going to be me at the helm of deciding how it is that I act, how I behave, how I speak, how I communicate in that moment, at that point in time. It will feel more like me, be simpler, and ultimately more rewarding for me. I should not attempt to give up my priorities or principles for niceties with or for someone. They'll only then treat you like a pushover, and they then actually treat you worse as a result. See, the thing is, if I am trying to make sure that I can be sort of likable to people that I might want to spend a bit of time with, or even just try to be polite and nice at work, or if I'm out with family or friends, or people that I'm meeting for the first time, there'll be times where I will just try and be polite and sort of maybe respectful isn't the right word, but I almost don't feel like I would be myself at that point in that interaction, because it might actually end up being quite a little bit more of a sort of personality than maybe people within that interaction would want to have to deal with. thing that I need to understand is that I need to be firm, be bold, be true, be clear, and sort of be myself when I interact with people. I do get, now that I'm saying this out loud as well, that there are reasons why I choose not to act that way. But the thing that I realized is I don't act like I really feel like I am when I'm around other people. Not that, I'd sort of want to hide away, and it's because, there's this really twisted side of me that is my true self that nobody else can see. But I almost feel like it is not what would be as valued or as desired as wanted, and it would actually then, for some reason, I've come to believe that if I intend to act like myself, that will actually push people away. Which is ironic, because I'm finding that as I intend to act like somebody that I am not, I actually find that I am just naturally being more resistant to being close to other people. I need to act this way before anyone else will for me. And the thing I need to realize is it is a privilege to hold that burden. It sounds a little corny to sort of use this metaphor, hold the burden of the torch that guides my life. It is always in my possession, even if I feel like I have, consciously or not, willingly or not, handed it to somebody else. Others waiting handed over the responsibility for myself and my well-being in my life over to somebody else. Waiting to have them handed back to me and tell me that I am then allowed to handle that torch on my own. When the thing is, I have already and always been allowed and capable to handle it. It will only be from this point forward that what has always been real for me has finally become true. And I believe, and I actually, at least at this point, finally take the burden of it. Now, that sort of was something I wanted to really spend a little bit more time talking and thinking about sort of today, but I actually didn't. I've sort of ended up steering that sort of premise, that intention away, because I knew that this would be an important thing to really consider. But I also was somewhat worried about how I would handle it, how I would tackle it, how I would move through it and with it. I had this thought at work today, and I jotted down sort of, the points, but I wasn't even thinking about the subject for this video, but about the task of simply making it, of making the video and making sure that I've actually got everything that I want to talk about, everything that I need to talk about down on paper, and I am then primed and ready to actually say this on camera, say this on the spot, without any other sort of preparation, or without having to need any more preparation to make a really great video for myself, and cover all the points down. And the thing is, I was somewhat concerned about not making this video perfect. I'm treating this matter as though this will be the first and the final time I discuss whatever I have decided to discuss. And it will be something that I will not be allowed to speak of again. That's what the pursuit and ultimately the ending of perfection looks like. An ending to the matter, or to that thing. And that sort of, I thought about that, and I thought that was actually quite a smart, quite an interesting observation and sort of discovery to make. That if I am so focused on looking to understand more about what it is that I should understand about myself and about my interactions with others, and understanding that I'm making these videos not so much to get to a final dot point at the end of every video, but my intention with these videos is that I would talk about a new subject every day, intending not to have to go back to sort of old subjects, old topics, and be able to keep moving forward and expand on all of those things. And I think that for some reason I'm sort of had this belief that if I don't get it all now, then it's almost not so much a waste of time, but I won't be getting out what I need to get from this. I won't actually be getting the most from these videos that I really I should, not so much that I could be getting. But then this idea of perfection, of it sort of needing to be this final end, this how do I put it? In the end, this sort of absolution to the matter of this subject, of this video. And sort of the example I thought about would have been just like when submitting an assignment or project at uni. It is as perfect as it will ever be. Only if you never intend to look at that information again. The idea of perfection and completion and absolution. That's actually what I think is more important to talk about today. The thing that actually took a lot more of my time really thinking about, something that I actually had never really thought about in the past or before. That I'm looking for the perfect way to understand what it is I need to understand. And for some reason I've got this idea that every video I make, for what it is I am intending to actually, for what it is that I'm actually intending to discuss and talk about in these videos, has to be definitive and absolute in that single video. It has to be perfect. But the thing I need to understand is I am not chasing perfection. In this case, with these videos, my intention is to pursue understanding. And the thing is, I need to I thought about that, and I basically just put it as perfection or absolution. It sounds quite boring. It is because of this sort of peril that I put myself in to be a maximizer. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, read the book, The Paradox of Choice. But I'm intending to be in this maximizing state that ultimately I seem destined to not ever give it my all, because I believe it will be taken from me rather than something I conscionably hand over. What I mean by that is I am so focused on it needing to be perfect that if it's sort of not, it's sort of not going to really be my thing. It's not going to be something that really adds up as the sum of its parts. I seem concerned to try or to start because I worry that what I start or what I begin as my own thing will transpire into something I'm not so much, something I sort of couldn't have really imagined. And I'm worried about if I were to pursue whatever it is that I'm doing, whatever I'm trying to understand, something like this video as well, that what I had intended for it to become will be something, it'll turn and transpire into something else, which I sort of, now that I am reading this back aloud to myself, it is ironic because that is exactly what happened as I started looking into this new subject. I guess I am afraid of the change that comes with change more than I am nervous to actually see and begin change. I am more nervous of the change that comes with change than I am nervous to actually see and begin to see change. I'm not so much incapable of taking action, but it's the unpredictability, the uncertainty, the random act, or the randomness that can transpire as each step is taken, so to speak. That can see what it is that I had intended to discuss, what I had intended to do, both here with these videos and also things that I may do outside within my life and work. What I may start may turn into something that I could not have ever expected. This is one of the great risks I have to gamble with in my life. And I need to sort of ask myself, how much will change actually change? How much will changing things change my life? Am I being led by my subconscious here? With its sort of parasitic motives? Or is my nervous system keeping me from harm's way? This comes down to trust. Do I trust the present me that knows change will lead to outcomes that can improve my life? Or the present me that wants certainty no matter the cost? My present self is not perfect, so how can I demand that if my future may likely not be perfect, but there's a possibility it could be better, even if it isn't perfect? How is that a pointless journey? After all, if things don't work out, I could just revert back to my old self, but the thing that I've sort of had to realize and acknowledge is that, like, look, if I am being so caught up in this need for perfection, whether I really admit it or not, right now I acknowledge nothing I do will really be perfect, but it's always nice to hope. And if doing nothing leads to things, to not having to risk imperfection, for some reason I find that to be much more sound and acceptable than taking no action at all. That I must pursue perfection and achieve perfection or nothing else. But it is my ignorance that somehow subliminally convinces myself that things are perfect now, when I consciously know they aren't. To hold myself back in light of perfection is to truly hold myself back from accepting that is not what I want or consciously need. I'm supposed to be in pursuit of better, not perfect. Resolution, not absolution. That is how peace, fulfillment, and happiness are brought into your life. I can't believe I've forgotten that. I need to make sure that I am not pursuing absolution, but resolution. That's the key thing here. Is with these videos, my intention was always about intending to find a resolution, but when I get down to pen and paper, I find that I am looking for absolution. And I find that with a lot of other things that I do in my life, the things that I have done piss poorly, the things that I have been too timid to attempt to start, or too timid to actually complete and follow through, it was because I needed, subliminally, I was led by this need for absolution, when what I really needed, what I should have really strictly been focused in it, intending to pursue, was a resolution. And that's a really important and wise thing that I need to make sure that I actually adopt, acknowledge, and deploy in my life. Resolution over absolution. Positive change over no change at all. Turns out that was actually a little bit longer of a video than I had intended for today. Yeah, there were just a few notes that I'd sort of come up with and thought about. I need to make sure that I'm not needy to actually look for absolution and perfection, because that won't happen. At least, especially not at my age, not with, in a sense, because of my lack of age maturity, my lack of experience. It's just sort of extremely challenging, if not implausible, for me to actually find any form of absolution. And it's a lot more, not so much just absolute that it's black and white, but it's a lot less fulfilling to just look at it in that way. There's no way to actually be able to walk away feeling better when there's a need for absolution, because it is a 1 or a 0. Whereas if I'm looking for resolution, it's sort of a spectrum, and I get to decide exactly where it is I intend to land on that spectrum, as opposed to going either there's a switch that goes up or down. Either things are resolved or not, or I can say, look, based on what it is I need to really understand and appreciate and value in my experience and what I want to and need to understand within myself, and how it is that I interact with myself and others, there is no point looking for absolution, but there is value in looking for resolution, in being able to build and bridge relationships and connections and ideas and beliefs, rather than needing it to be absolute, needing it to be total, and that being it. Because that's very ignorant to actually believe. That's a very immature and a very close-minded belief and perception and mentality to possess. I'm going to end this video here for tonight. I'll go and edit it, and then I will post it later tonight. Until tomorrow, take care.